Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode. We're going to be working on Unit 7, Lessons 3 and 4. Our topic of the day is a continuation of the previous topic, which is all about sports. Do you think we're going to be talking about tennis and basketball? We'll see. Let's get started with our objectives for the day. We're going to listen to a radio program about the Olympic Games. We will talk about how things have changed. We will give contrasting information and add information. We're going to carry out an internet search about speedball. We're going to talk and ask and answer a quiz about team sports. We will discuss fairness in sports. Now, let's think about how many sports do you think are played at the Olympic Games. You can make any guess you like and just type it in the comments. We will find out after reading, of course, after listening to the audio. So we're going to listen to a radio program about the Olympic Games, and then we're going to check our answers to exercise 1, which states how many sports do you think are played at the Olympic Games. We're going to guess the number of sports at the Olympics. We're going to find out after listening to the audio.
Professor Yunus is an expert on the history of the Olympic Games. Professor, when were the first Olympic Games held? The first Olympic Games were held in Greece in 776 BCE, so it is a very old competition. Have the Games changed a lot since then? Oh, yes, there have been many changes. In the ancient Greek Olympics, there were between 7 and 9 sports. Things are completely different now. Some sports are no longer part of the modern games. How many sports are part of the games now? Well, the list keeps changing, but in 2016, there were 41 sports. Another area where there have been big changes is in the stadiums. These have become huge and very modern. Furthermore, stadiums all have the newest technology so that achievements can be measured more accurately. How different were ancient Greek stadiums? Ancient Greek stadiums weren't very comfortable, and there wasn't even fresh water for the spectators. These days, spectators from all over the world come and watch events. But in ancient Greece, only Greek spectators could watch the games. How hard is it for today's athletes? They work very hard. In the past, athletes only used to practice hard for about 10 months before the games. These days, they must work hard for years before the games. What about the prizes athletes win? That hasn't changed, has it? Yes, it has. Today, athletes win medals for first, second, or third place. This is very different from the past, when winners were given only leaves to wear on their heads. And how often were the games held in the past? Ancient times, they were held every 4 years in the summer and always in the same place in Greece. However, today the Olympics are held in different countries every time. Although there have been changes, it's always a great achievement for athletes to compete for their country at the Olympics. That hasn't changed at all.
Okay, how many sports do you think are played in the Olympic Games? This was the question at the beginning of lessons 3 and 4 in Unit 7. And the answer is, since 2016, there were 41, but the list keeps changing. So I suggest you look up the new number through an internet search. That will really help you know the updated number. Okay, if you need to listen to the audio one more time, you can, and then you can fill in the table by comparing ancient Greece to today. The first one is done for us, number of different sports. Now, if we compare ancient Greece to today, we will know that we have about 41 different sports in comparison to the past a long time ago in ancient Greece, which were only 7 to 9 sports. Now let's compare stadiums in ancient Greece in comparison to our stadiums today. Now today we have huge and very modern stadiums, but in the past, the stadiums in ancient Greece were not very comfortable, and most probably they didn't even have fresh water. Now, what about spectators or people who come to watch those games nowadays? They're called spectators. So, in the past, in ancient Greece, only people from Greece were able to watch those matches or those sports. However, today, people from all over the world can travel to watch different sports from around the world or even watch it through television. Now, let's jump to number 4, which is athletes. Now, let's compare athletes in ancient Greece in comparison to today. Today, the athletes must practice for years before the games, but in the past, they practiced for about 10 months before the games, 5 medals for the first, second, and third place. So people were able to receive lots of medals and they only practiced for 10 months. Now, what about prizes? In ancient Greece, they received leaves, which is quite funny if you compare it to today. Today, they receive medals for first, second, and third place. And the last one, number 6, we're going to compare countries holding the games. In the past, the countries that held the games were always in Greece, but today they are from different countries around the world. Okay. Now we're going to ask ourselves, how have the things listed in example 3 or exercise 3 changed since the first games? I want you to make sentences using expressions from the functions box. Now, if we look at the sample or example on the right-hand side in the speech bubble, it says, there are more sports than there used to be. However, some sports are no longer part of the Olympic Games. Now, in the past, the Olympic Games were held in Greece only. However, today the Olympics are held in different countries. So if I say contrasting things or contrasting information, I will talk about things that are different or opposite to one another. Although there have been changes, it's always a great achievement to win a game. So you can always go back to exercise 3 and you can practice saying contrasting things or things that have opposite meaning to one another. Now, we're going to start our internet search. Find out where and why speedball was invented and how you play it. Now, if you've ever played speedball before, you know that it's a game where there's a ball tied to a pole by a string, and all you need is a racket to be able to hit the ball. You can play with a partner or you can play by yourself. It's a game that allows for eye-hand coordination, or in other words, it allows you to focus with your eyes and your hands together to hit the ball correctly, because sometimes you miss. It's a great sport. Read all about it through an internet search and write down what you found out in the comments. I would love to read them. Now we're going to jump to lesson 4. Now I want you to look at the pictures and answer the questions. Question 1 says, in which picture is the referee? If you're not sure who the referee is, it's probably like a coach or someone who is looking at the game and watching carefully so that he can follow the rules of the game and make sure that everyone is following them. So it is probably the picture on the right-hand side, picture B. That is the referee. Usually he's holding or putting a whistle in his mouth. Now, what about number 2? Your team is blue. Which team is your opponent? Of course, your opponent is the white team in the picture, which is picture A. Good job, guys. So an opponent is someone from the opposite team, or someone who is not on your team is an opponent. Okay, now we're going to jump to our quiz section. Make sure you answer in your notebooks. Make sure you choose the actual answer that you believe in. Now, number 1, if you are a spectator or a person watching a match or a fan of a certain team and your team loses a match, what should you do? Should you A, congratulate your opponents on winning the match, or should you start yelling or shouting unkind words about the other team? Choose the correct answer wisely in your notebook. Now, number two, when you win a match, what should you do? Is it A, congratulate your team, or say unkind things to your opponents? What is the right thing to do? Choose wisely and write your answer in your notebook. If the referee decides that you did something wrong, what should you do? If the referee thinks that you made a mistake or you did something wrong, what should you do? Is it A, apologize and listen to the referee, or say I disagree and ask the spectators for their opinion? Choose your answer wisely and write it in your notebook. Number four, there is a player in your team that you don't think is trying very hard. What should you do? So there's a player in your team that you think is not doing his best or her best. What should you do in that case? Should you encourage this player to try harder, or say that you don't think this player is very good? What is the right thing to do? If you answered A to all the above questions, then you are a good sport. So what does a good sport mean here? A good sport is someone who can control their temper and act with kindness even if they lose or even if their team does not win. Exercise 3. I want you to read the text and discuss these questions with a partner in your home or a partner who is a friend or a family member. In 1984, the Egyptian Muhammad Ali Rashwan was in the final of the World Judo Championship. His opponent was a Japanese man, Yoshiro Yamashita. Before the game, Yoshiro hurt his leg, but Muhammad did not touch his injured leg, although this would have helped him win. He didn't think this was kind. Muhammad lost the match, but he won his self-respect. I want you guys to look up the words in red in your dictionary for the word self-respect. You can pause the video and then let's check together. Okay, after you guys look up the word self-respect, let's discuss it together. Now, the word self means me or I, and respect is a positive feeling towards anyone. So if I have self-respect, I feel good about myself, probably because I'm doing the right thing. When you do the right thing, you feel self-respect inside, within your heart. So do you think Muhammad did the right thing? What do you guys think? Muhammad Ali Rashwan knew a weakness in his opponent, Yoshiro Yamashita. However, he did not use the information for his own benefit. He did not use this weakness to win the game. Did he do the right thing? Yes or no? If you think he did the right thing, write your explanation. If you think he did the wrong thing, please write your explanation to why do you think he did the right or the wrong thing. Now let's jump to number 3. Should you always play a sport to win or for other reasons? So when we play sports, do we play just to win, or does it feel good when we play sports? Do we feel more active and happier? If you read about playing sports and its benefits, you might hear about the fact that every time you play sports, endorphins are provided within your brain and they make you feel much happier. So the more sports that you play, the happier you are. If you have other reasons, please write them down. Now, I want to thank you guys. We have completed the following. We have listened to a radio program about the Olympic Games. We talked about how things have changed. We gave contrasting or opposite information, and we added information. We carried out an internet search about speedball. We talked about team sports. We asked and answered a quiz about team sports, and we discussed fairness in sport when we read about Muhammad and the Japanese opponent. Thank you guys. This was Miss Sara Bassioni. You did a great job today. Please write down any questions you have in the comments, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.